is Megan Murphy, and I did my action research project on the effects of the BARR program on San Jacinto High freshmen. This is for San Diego Christian College, master's program, Master's of Arts in Teaching program, August 2019. The problem statement for my project was that freshmen at San Jacinto High have a very high failure rate here, and what we saw happening is they would fail multiple classes their freshman year, and then that would carry on over into their sophomore year as well. And in many cases, these freshmen were having to take online classes their junior year, or they were having to leave our high school and go to the continuation school to complete their requirements for graduation. So we were seeing them having to use some other alternative means for credit recovery. So as a result, this school, the district decided to try out this program called BARR program, which is a freshman transition program, which I'll be getting into. The purpose of the study is to examine how participation in the BARR program affected freshman attendance, failure rate, and their perceptions of their student-to-teacher relationships. My research questions: how does participation in the BARR program affect freshman attendance and academic achievement? How does participation in the BARR program affect student-to-teacher and student-to-student relationships for the freshman class? My hypothesis: if the BARR program affects attendance, failure rates, and student-to-teacher relationships, then BARR students will show lesser percentages of unexcused absences, higher positive student-to-teacher relationships, and show a decrease in failure rates because the BARR model helps provide students the support they need to succeed when compared with the non-BARR group. So my literature review. There were three main things that I looked at: transitioning to high school, relationships with teachers, and then the BARR model. So transitioning to high school, what the literature review studies showed is that the biggest change in a K through 12 student's life is their transition to high school from the middle school. The level of success a student has during his 9th grade year affected the probability of the outcome that the student would have out of high school. So if they did poorly their 9th grade year, they were more likely to drop out. Beginning high school also causes increased levels of stress and behavior problems, which can cause declines in grades, attendance, and interest in school, and perceptions of academic competence and self-esteem. My research for the importance of positive relationships is a student perceived decline in teacher support from 8th grade to 9th grade year was linked to decreased levels of academic achievement, and students with higher perceived teacher support and school connectedness related to students misbehaving less. So if they felt that they had more teacher support, they were more connected to the school, more interested in school, and therefore had less behavior issues. And supportive teacher relationships have shown to reduce decreases in school compliance, a sense of school identification, and value of learning. So what this study saw is that when they go from middle school to high school, there's a decline in these factors. However, those students that had a supportive teacher had less of a decline. So they still declined, but it was less than if they didn't have the supportive teacher relationship. And the literature review for the BARR model is, so first to explain what the BARR model is a little bit, the science, math, and English teacher all share the same students. And then what happens is these 3 teachers, along with counselors, administrators, they get together and talk about 5 different students twice a week. and they discuss issues that the student's having and how to provide support for that student. Sometimes if they are very at risk and they need other support, that's when we pull in other resources to help provide even more support for that student. Previous studies have shown the BARR model to have a positive impact on ninth graders' standardized test scores, credits earned, and an overall failure rate. So, methodology. So, last school year, we had 3 sections of BARR students, and then the rest of the freshmen were all regular traditional class. So it was 101 students were placed into the BARR program, and then 641 freshmen attended regular traditional school. Students were taught weekly I-time lessons, which I-time lessons are 30-minute lessons that one of the teachers teaches to all 3 sections, that has to do with building relationships or helping self-esteem. Topics can range from like bullying, so personal growth type lessons. So they were taught those once a week, and then teachers met twice a week to discuss students that were struggling in their program. Towards the middle of the year, the BARR coordinator decided to look at specifically students who are failing only one class and to focus a lot of attention on them and helping them bring up their one failing class. And then BARR teachers are assigned one section of students, and they track their grades, attendance, and behavior throughout the entire year. And they make connections with that student. They check in on that student all the time, and if they see a student struggling, they check in with them and try to figure out what's going on. So my data collection, I calculated failure rate for both groups from semester 1 and semester 2, and failure rate was if they were failing one or more course. And then I calculated the percentage of unexcused period absences in semester 2. I also conducted an anonymous student survey to help me determine perceptions of student-to-teacher relationships, student-to-student relationships, student-to-school relationships. So it really encompassed like how their school culture. And then I also collected anecdotal data from the BARR teachers and how they felt on their relationships with students and also with each other. So my results. So this is all results from the survey. These are just the ones that showed a difference. So one of the questions was, the statement was, student, how comfortable are you talking to at least one teacher? And what you see over here is that the BARR students are in blue. The BARR students were much more likely to say strongly agree than the non-BARR students, and the BARR students were less likely to say to disagree, either disagree or strongly disagree. So that showed some student-to-teacher relationship there. And then the next statement was, student feels supported by staff to succeed. And again, they were more likely to say strongly agree, not quite as much, and then agree they were about even, and then they didn't say disagree and strongly disagree as often as the non-BARR students. This is the students responded, how many teachers they felt comfortable, or the number of teachers they felt cared about how they were doing. So the BARR students were much more likely to have 2 or more teachers that they felt cared about them. And then this last one is the number of teachers that would be concerned if the student was upset. So how many teachers the student felt would be concerned if they walked into class upset. And you can clearly see with the BARR group that they were much more likely to say 3 teachers. 4 or more was about even, 2 or more was about even, and then the BARR students were much less likely to say none or 1 teacher. So this all shows that the BARR students felt more connected to their teachers. This was also survey data. This shows their sense of belonging to the school. The BARR students were more likely to say agree. Strongly agree was about even. And this was participation in extracurricular activities. So we found that the BARR students were less involved in 2 or more activities compared to the non-BARR students. So what I found interesting about this was the BARR students reported a stronger sense of belonging. However, they were less involved in the school. And then the failure rate and attendance. So failure rate, as you can see, the BARR students had a significantly higher failure rate first semester. But you can see the improvement. They went from a 61% failure rate to a 39% failure rate, compared to the non-BARR students who started out at a 19 and ended up with a 33. So the non-BARR students' failure rate actually went up. And the attendance, we see that the BARR students were more likely to have unexcused period attendances. So, what do all those results mean? So the survey data showed that the BARR students had a stronger relationship with more of their teachers and had a higher sense of belonging, but they were less involved in extracurricular activities. Now, the important thing to keep in mind with the survey data is with the BARR students, we had a 57% participation rate, and with the non-BARR students, we only had 22% participation rate. So the way this survey went out, it went to the entire freshman class, and teachers pretty much just said, hey, there's this survey, if you guys could fill it out, we would really appreciate it. So of the 22% of the non-BARR students, which students would be more likely to fill out that survey? My assumption, my hypothesis would be that the students that are more involved with the school, who listen to their teacher, maybe have stronger connections, were more likely to fill out that survey. So I wonder how much the difference would have been if we could have gotten this percentage higher, and if we had more students that were maybe less interested, listened to the teacher less, how the data would have changed. The failure rate data show that the BARR students significantly decreased while from semester 1 to 2, while the non-BARR students increased. So what I want to caveat here is the BARR student assignment was not random. What happened is the 8th grade counselors created a list of highest at-risk students. And 40% of the students that got placed onto that list got put into one of the 3 BARR classes. So the BARR classes had a higher concentration of most at-risk students, which is why we saw their failure rate so high in the beginning of semester 1. But after they'd had more time to make connections with their teachers, that's when we saw the decrease happen. At the end of the year, it was significantly lower, and these were the freshman class's roughest kids. Attendance data show that the BARR students had a 2% higher rate of unexcused absences, but again, because the assignment wasn't random, it's really hard to look at this too much, which is why I looked at improvement from semester 1 to semester 2 for the failure rate. BARR teachers also reported that they felt like they had stronger relationships with their students and that they had more relationships with their students. What they also found is they felt much more connected to other staff members, and they felt much more supported to help these students than they have in previous years that didn't include the BARR model. So future studies. My school will be continuing with the BARR program, and so what I suggest is that so they're going to be expanding it to all freshmen. So what I suggest, because there wasn't a random assignment of the BARR classes last year, I think that they should be looking at the 3 previous non-BARR years and collecting the failure rate data of those, and then start comparing it to every year the failure rate moving forward. Another reason why this is important is because the BARR program is implementing 3 new policies this year. For instance, one of them is going to be cell phones. We have a new cell phone policy. So I would recommend continuing to collect this data to see if these policies are impacting the failure rate or not. Because the BARR model is all about data, and what does the data say? If there's no difference, why would we continue with a policy? For my personal future practices, I'm going to be a BARR teacher this year for 3 classes. I'm going to work towards creating more opportunities to connect with the students. Sometimes I get a little too involved in the content, and we're going. We've got a 50-minute class period. Sometimes I forget to kind of slow down and try to have some of those non-content related conversations with my students. So I'm going to be working harder to try to make sure that I have those conversations with my students so that I can connect with them better. Because even though there were stronger relationships in the BARR program, there were still a lot of students that said disagree or strongly disagree with feeling comfortable talking to one staff member on campus. And so we're still missing students, and I want to make sure that we connect with as many students as we can. For my faith integration, this has been an interesting process for me. I grew up Lutheran. If you were to ask me if I was a practicing Christian, I probably would say no. So my initial thoughts when starting the program was that a teacher's religious beliefs don't belong in the classroom. But as I started going through the journal entries and the texts, for instance, the Making a Difference text, I started to see how a lot of my just personal beliefs aligned with the Christian beliefs. And for instance, like treating your students with grace. I already felt that way without really realizing that aligned with Christian beliefs as well. So the faith-based assignments in this program they cause me to do a great deal of self-reflection in my teaching practices, in my personal beliefs, and how my personal beliefs align with the Christian faith. Because like I said, I did grow up as a Lutheran, but I guess just as I got older, there started to be some things that I didn't necessarily agree with other people in the faith, and so it kind of helped reset me back to, even though I had those experiences, that's not what the Christian faith is all about. So it helped to kind of realign me and put a reset on some of my past experiences, and I can honestly say that my mind is much more open than it used to be. and I was kind of negative about the Christian aspect of the program at first. I kind of had a negative opinion of it, but I started to really truly enjoy doing those journal entries. So I can honestly say that it had a positive effect on me. Thank you.